So today we're going to be doing some planting of our potatoes. Around here, people usually around Valentine's Day, as soon after that you can. Now when you work all week, you're kind of confined to the weekends, and if it rains, you got to skip a weekend. So that's why we're February 25th today, trying to put our potatoes out. My husband's not here. He went ahead and dug the trenches for me because he's got to do some work for his family. So he's already gone. I'm just gonna let you see our workbench here. We built this bench. It's got a little bitty sink in it. Got that at a church yard sale, the sink. And the gray bucket is a drain. It catches the water when it rains. It goes through the sink. It does have a stopper for when I get fruits and vegetables out of the garden. I don't have to wash the dirt off of them in my house or in my kitchen sink. I can do it in that sink. But that gray bucket catches rainwater, and then we'll take that rainwater and put it on our composters. That black one is the new compost we're working on. The one with the red top there, the tin, is the compost has been here for a year or so. I'll let you see that. The chickens have been in it. They gotta go in there and rattle around. That's what it looks like. And then this is the new composter, or the new stuff that's getting composted. And you can see it's still breaking down. So, lots of fruit flies. There is my seed starter little house. I got that for Christmas year before last. They don't really last a whole long time. We take these apart or take it down when I'm done with it, so it's not sitting out here in the summer sun. We'll take everything down, and we'll take the plastic off and put it in the shed, and then we take the frame and kind of sit it right here, so it's underneath the roof. It's not sitting out in the sun. So that's where the seeds start. And if it was to frost, in the next day or two, all of the seed stuff would go back in there just for protection. But I think they're good right now. It's 80 degrees during the day and 60 something at night. We've got extra soil down here. We've got watering pots. We've got potatoes. This is potatoes left from last year that have been in my shed. So we're going to try planting a whole row of that. See how that comes up. And then that orange bucket, the Home Depot bucket right there, once we get our potatoes cut, and a great many of them dusted with lime, we're going to put them in that bucket, and we'll take them out to the garden. So we're going to try to get our potatoes in the ground today. Around here, you usually plant as close to after Valentine's Day as you can. My husband dug the trenches this morning. We'll link a picture of what that kind of looks like. We don't do it by hand, we do it with a tractor. So he had to go help his family with some stuff, and he went ahead and did that before he left. So I can go ahead and just finish up putting these potatoes in the ground. So in the next county over, there's a fertilizer place. They sell these potatoes 50-pound bag, and you can buy them by the pound if you don't want 50 pounds, but my father and I usually buy a 50-pound bag and split it, and that's what we did this year. These are supposed to be red Pontiac, and you can see the eyes right here. Now I bought these a couple of weeks ago. It's a good idea if you buy them, kind of leave them somewhere warm so the eyes can start to develop, because once you buy these eyes are not these pronounced. Like I said, it's been a couple of weeks, and they've been in this croaker sack or in this gunny sack, whatever kind of sack you want to call it. Croaker sack's what we call it. They've been in there inside our shed for a couple of weeks. So we've got enough. I'm trying to get 3 rows out of these, and then maybe a whole row out of the ones that came out of our shed, the ones that came out of our garden last year. So to cut these, you can cut these where you can get the maximum pieces with all these eyes on it. There's one here, one here, there's one here. All these little eyes here have a chance to become a plant. Now, of course, the smaller the eye, the longer it's going to take to develop a plant, because you will be planting these 6 inches apart, 6 inches deep. So, let's see. You can cut it. There's one. This one has some holes in it, but not of our making. And then you can cut the other one. These have the bigger eyes. So the smaller eyes kind of stay with this piece, but it still has that big one. When you plant it, you're going to plant it where the eye kind of faces up. So just remember that. smaller potato may produce more eyes than a bigger potato. The one I just cut up a minute ago had eyes on one end, but nothing on the other end, and it was a big potato. So small potato, we're gonna try to get maybe 3 cuttings out of this, because you have an eye here, an eye here, and an eye here. Now, like I said, these smaller ones could theoretically pop on out there, but it's gonna take a little bit longer. So, let's see here. We'll cut that way, and we'll cut that way. So we have 3 pieces. They're gonna go in our lime. So this one, like I said, this is the other end of this potato. This potato's a bigger potato. This end of it, though, only has a little eye here and an eye there. So we're gonna leave that one as it is. This end has 3 eyes. So, you can cut it in half and just have, these 2 eyes together, or you can go ahead and cut this in half. It'd be small pieces, but you'd still have the eyes. I'm gonna leave it as is. We've got a lot of potatoes to do, so I don't have to get that nitpicky about that. Now this is a small potato, only has this one big eye on the end, doesn't have anything on the other end. You could leave this as is and just stick it in the ground with the eye facing up. And I think that's what we're gonna do. This one has a huge eye on this end and this end. Not much more to recommend it after that, so we're just gonna split it right down the middle. And there we go, we've got 2 halves. Now we're gonna dust it with our lime. People will say, depending on what you read, Google articles, talk to anybody, some people say don't use lime because it can cause scab. Some people say, if you need pH balance or a higher pH in your soil, lime. I don't know if they're talking about this lime. They may talk about the lime that you spread out like fertilizer. But this lime is horticultural hydrated lime. We get this from a local feed and seed. Kind of protects it against rotting a little bit. It coats it. My dad swears by it. I have planted with it, I have planted without it, and I get the same results. If I have scab with the lime, I have scab without it. So you just have to use that as your own, you have to use your own judgment on that if you want to do it, or check your pH balance to see. Now it's kind of like flour and chicken back in the old days when you floured and fried chicken. Kind of rub this around in it, get it good and coated. Try not to inhale it, but this is what it's going to look like. Just a white, like powdered sugar. So we're going to transfer this to another bucket because I only have a little bit of lime. My dad actually brought me some that he used, that he had left over, because when I went to buy more lime this year, I only had this much left. When I went to buy lime this year, they didn't have any. So, sometimes you can find, I think there's an organic lime at Home Depot. We didn't get that. Not that fancy about organic. And I'm not talking about granulated lime. They may have granulated lime. That's not what we're using. It's a powder. It's a white powder. So we're going to keep on cutting up these potatoes, and then we're going to get out to the garden and we'll show you how we plant. So I just wanted to show you what we're going to be taking out to the garden with us to do this. It's a 4-wheeler, and I got a little trailer back here, and the garden is out that way past my old truck. So instead of carting all this out there by hand, we're just going to put it in our 4-wheeler cart and take it with us. So there's our bucket of cut up potatoes that you saw me slicing and putting in the lime, and then these are the ones that came out of my shed. We've got some steaks here. These are what they call battening steaks or tomato steaks. These are tomato steaks. And we've got somewhere under here, we've got our sledgehammer, and we've got our hoe. This is just for covering them up. Once we put them in the trench, we got to cover them up. Next, there. And then in those, we have some 10 fertilizer. That's going to go in the trench before the potatoes. That might not be enough for all 4 rows that we're planting, but the stakes are for the beginning and the end of the rows until the potatoes come up. just so I'll know where the first potato is and where the last one is. I won't plant anything in its way. So these are just markers. Whenever the potatoes come up and you got the plants, and you can take up the stakes and use them for something else. So now we're going to go ahead and take our triple 10. Already got it out. Let's see if I can get these work gloves on. I don't know if this will hurt you, but I don't particularly care for spreading it without gloves. Now, let's see if I can do this without hitting the camera. You can see there's our trench. We're just putting down a good layer of this. Now I use this for my onions. Now, if you see right here, there's a little spot that's not as deep as say back here. So what I'll do is I'll take the hoe and I'll kind of dig that out, and then finish laying the triple 10 all the way down the row, and then we'll come back and we'll put the potatoes in. I'll try to show you that real quick. I've still got 3 more rows to plant, but I will show you what it looks like. Little white rocks all the way down the row. I'm going to cover these up, but before I cover them up, and I've already done it, but before I cover them up on any of them, I always plant to see how many I can count to see how many I planted. I got 83 on this first row. Now I don't know that I'm going to get 83 on the other 3 rows. You plant these 6 inches apart. Now I don't bring a measuring tape. Some may be closer than 6 inches, some may be farther apart. Just try to guesstimate it. Give it enough room that when it starts making potatoes, it's got room. So we're going to cover these up with a hoe, and we're going to set the stakes at the beginning and the end of the row. Maybe I'll let you see that. I thought I'd let you see everything else, and I forgot. So here we go. Now you can go one side this way, and then switch directions and start from this direction. You don't want them too deep, just because you don't want them to rot on you before they have a chance to grow. So that's how we plant our potatoes. Now you can use any tool that you want to cover it up. I just have that flathead hoe. You can use a shovel. What else is out there? Garden rake. Whatever you got. That hoe came from my father. The head of it came from my father. It was an antique one that he had, or an old one that he had. And I just went to local Feed and Seed. Bought the handle for 13 or 14 bucks, and I use the heck out of it. I also have an action hoe, but that's not really a good tool for this job. That's more weeding. So cut them, put them in lime, dig your trenches, and put some fertilizer down, cover them up. And we put these, excuse me, we put these stakes just so I know where it ends and begins. Pretty much the beginning is easy. It's right here at the end. But the beginning of the whole field itself. But down at the other end, my husband dug the trenches all the way the length of the garden. I didn't want them that way. I forgot to tell him. I wanted it to stop lengthwise of our trellis that's up because I want to put those winter squash at the very bottom of the garden. I didn't want them to go all the way down, so I have a stake down there showing me where it ends, because he can come back through those extra few feet on those trenches and he can tiller it back and make it flat again. So I want to make sure we both know where those potatoes end. So it's a good idea because we've been about a week without rain, and I don't think we're going to get any in the next few days. So it's a good idea to kind of put a little water out here because it is a little dry, and see if we can get them starting. Now these are not going to sprout up overnight. They kind of take a couple of weeks, and then we'll see little bitty heads that like the eyes, but they'll be green and they'll be breaking the ground. And about 90 days you'll be ready to harvest some potatoes, red skin potatoes. So hopefully, this is how we do it. You do it however you want, lime, no lime, whatever kind of potato you're going to do. If you're going to do them in containers, a lot of people are starting doing them in containers. I just don't have that many containers, but I do have dirt. So, whatever floats your boat. And that's going to be it. It's kind of a lengthy video, a lot of parts to it. So I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye and get these other 3 rows planted so I can get on to something more fun like cleaning out flower beds. Thank you.